Celo is crypto specifically made for mobile. Do you think mobile is the future? Yes. There's no other project that focuses on crypto centering around the mobile experience. 80% of the world has a smartphone, but only 50% of the world has access to a laptop. So Celo's focus on crypto and mobile also serves that 30%, that difference that no one else is serving. And these include people in emerging countries and rural communities. And you can see this in Celo's actions with a lot of social good. Celo's mission is to create an open financial system that creates conditions of prosperity for all. I have to say, this is not legal or financial advice, informational entertainment info. Also, this is sponsored by Celo because I'm one of their grantees and I'm making educational content about the ecosystem. I'm giving more info on that later on in this video to see how you can also get one of their grants. Talk about some real problems that Celo is solving right now. First up is remittances. Remittance industry takes 7 to 20% in fees for people who are sending necessary funds to loved ones back home. Think about this. If you're sending $1,000 back home, someone else is taking that $200, so your loved ones are only getting $800. With crypto stablecoins like the Celo stablecoin, you can send funds to anywhere around the world for less than a cent. It's absolutely incredible and life-changing for those in emerging countries. I've made TikToks about basically all of these use cases and you can find them in the description. Number 2, let's talk about microloans. How can $500 change someone's life? Celo figured it out through a crypto microloans pilot in Colombia. Immigrants in Colombia were essentially door dashers on a manual bike. Celo gave out $500 in crypto so that they could have a loan to buy a battery-powered bike. Celo figured out how to use informal social networks to assess creditworthiness and likelihood of repayment. Incomes doubled across the cohort, and people made, on average, 4 times the minimum wage. Number 3, this is very niche, but animal wildlife conservation. This project is called Wild Chain, and you can play this game where the wildlife animals, characters, or NFTs, and you can adopt them. So overall, who does Celo help? Anyone with a smartphone. The investors, or backers, should I call them, are also a pretty sick, incredible lineup. These include Jack Dorsey of Twitter and Square, Coinbase, Naval, A16Z, Polychain Capital, Alad Gale, and Ariana Simpson, among many, many other prominent backers. This is a super exciting part. This is part 2 where we're going to talk about how to get involved. So number 1, you have to jump into the Discord. Discord is where the Celo community lives. You can introduce yourself, ask questions about anything in the community channels. There's a section for community events. And there's this huge section for developers, a random section where you can find memes and Celo in other languages as part of the global community. Speaking of languages and global community, you can fill out this form to indicate interest to help translate crypto content into different languages. In Celo, actually, there's this thing called Eco Leads. They help the Celo ecosystem in different languages and areas around the world. There's also the hackathon, and developers usually meet through Celo's hackathon. And here are some guest appearances by previous winners. First off, we have Eric. Eric had left college and started building full-time in crypto.
A project called Centro, which is a DeFi wallet for mobile. This is, I'd say, the moment that everything went from 0 to 1 for me, for being in the ecosystem, was Celo Inventors, which is a early stage VC fund that strictly invests in the Celo ecosystem. They reached out wanting to invest. And, as students, as first-time founders, we were like, whoa, holy cow, like, is this really happening? Like, it really felt too good to be true. And we went through with it. And, here we are today. We're still building. We're actually part of Celo Camp, which is the startup accelerator in the Celo ecosystem. So we're continuing to build out Centro. We're getting closer and closer to go to market. Yeah, it's super exciting.
And this is a clip from me and Chloe. Chloe and her teammate Sarah had a project for crypto loans without traditional credit backing.
Chloe, what were you thinking about at that time after this hackathon ended?
Oh yes, I guess after the hackathon ended, I didn't really think anything was gonna come from it. I was thinking, cause going into it, I remember Sarah was like, we'll go for the student prize. And so I wasn't expecting to win at all. Mm-hmm. And then when I got the news on, we have a little Discord, I was so shocked. I think I was on my way to work.
And I love this clip with Robert from Dahlia about why he's building on Celo.
There's a lot of innovation happening in DeFi at the moment, but the sort of main issue right now is there isn't, that innovation hasn't necessarily always translated to a more secure, transparent financial service industry for folks like my mom and dad, right? You kind of see that the users of DeFi today are very specific, very particular. The majority of them have a lot of money to earn yields on, and they're able to understand how to yield farm, how to access leverage, what the word leverage means. And for us, what was really cool is that was the first time we felt like here's a project that's really focused on creating mobile accessibility to users, where the majority of users today are, where they were really, really passionate about attracting folks from emerging markets, areas where financial services and systems are broken and really could benefit the most from a sort of more transparent governance minimized system that DeFi has to offer.
Also, Celo grants exist. Even though I'm not a developer, I actually got a grant from Celo to make content for them because it's education. If there's enough interest, I can follow up with a video explaining the process that I went through. The most popular use case for grants are probably for developers who want to build on Celo. You can also do bounties for Celo. You can find them on Gitcoin and HackerOne. Let's talk about the amazing Celo Camp. So Celo Camp is this 8-week virtual blockchain program. Here's the camp map and more resources in the description. And this is my favorite part 3. We are going to meet the Celo team. I've worked super closely with Daniel and Anna from the Celo team.
The first thing that caught my eye in the crypto space, and after reading a bit and doing my research, was actually DAOs. Just looked at coffee cooperatives back then as perhaps an opportunity to just organize farmers. I mean, at the end, these are just families, right? For example, one of the things that they do is that they don't necessarily hire people outside their own families. They employ their own family to kind of manage costs, right? So I was just thinking about organizational design, and then thinking about how consumers could also be part of that organization that coordinates themselves to produce coffee and consume coffee in a fair, way. So with that, I learned about Celo. Celo is my first, job in crypto. I learned about Celo because they had just done their first offsite here in Colombia, in Cartagena.
Before Celo, one of the ways in which I got involved working in crypto is I kind of started lurking in different communities. And one of them was MakerDAO. Before I even was working full-time in crypto, I was just part of the community. And at the time, we had Maker had an amazing community of contributors who were doing various tasks like creating content, creating this amazing resource for people to learn more about Maker. Originally I became a contributor just in the community and started doing different tasks and proposed my own projects and started teamed up with other people to work on some of the things that they were working on. And then over time, I got hired to work at the foundation to work on some of the programs in community development. So prior to Celo, I was growing community at Maker. And I was also, at the time, getting really involved in other communities as part of Metagama Delta. I did Kernel, and all of those experiences really built a foundation for me that I was really interested in community and building community. So when the opportunity came to start a lot of the programs at Celo, specifically in community development, it was really exciting. It was a really exciting opportunity for me, and that's how I ended up at Celo.
Right now, I lead up a team called the Innovation and Research Team on Celo, and we do a lot of cool things like pilots and prototypes, user research, basically trying to explore new use cases and really push the frontiers and boundaries of what Celo and crypto can do. My background's actually pretty interesting. I started off in traditional finance, so I was at Bain Capital for a bit, but I don't know, I didn't love the work of, making some rich people a lot richer. And so after a couple of years, I moved over to the Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where I was a consultant for a year. I love that, but I kind of realized I wanted some more practical experience, some real world experience. And so I found an opportunity to work for an organization called Give Directly. They do unconditional cash transfers. And so I moved to Kenya and ran their country program there for 2 years before I moved my way back to the US, started grad school, was doing like an MBA, MPA from Harvard and MIT before I kind of stumbled upon Celo by accident through the mutual connection. I met with Renee, who's our CEO. I just loved the mission. I just loved the team and what we were doing and how this was like this beautiful intersection of awesome technology, but also with a very important social impact mission. And the technology was great. And so I actually dropped out of school to work on this full time and haven't looked back.
In conclusion, if anyone is asking me about the price action about Celo, no comment, although I know it's very popular in most crypto YouTube videos. I would encourage anyone who actually made it this far to think more about the mission, tech, and community, and help that guide you in interacting with Celo. And the next video about Celo will be about the Celo ecosystem, including builders and partners and projects. Like, comment, and subscribe. I loved working with Celo. I've loved making this video for them. And let me know what else you want me to cover.